not get to 10% body fat. You will not get to this condition right here if you keep crash dieting, I promise you. So let's say if you're a person, you're out of shape, and then you search up for your favorite fitness influencer online, asking, what do I need to do to get into shape? What do I need to do to get to 10%? What do I need? Or alternatively, you'll probably go to ChatGPT, ask it to give you all of the tactics. And then you get the tactics, you're out of shape, you're tired and sick from the way you look, you hate the way you look. So you search for ways to get to this level of condition, to get to this level of leanness, to get to this level of shapeness as quick as possible by doing like an aggressive cut. You slash your calories down, you raise your output very high, and then first week you're like, okay, this is quite motivating. You don't really experience any some sort of like hardship, or you don't really find the cut very difficult for that aggressive cut for the first week. But then 2 weeks after that, or let's say the second week, boom, you start to feel the symptoms. You start to feel you know, the unenerginess. You feel like shit during the gym. You feel like flipping shit because obviously your calories are going to be very low if you slash your calories down too much. Gym performance is bad. The metabolism is bad. Sleep is starting to get poor. You're starting to experience these negative effects that the aggressive cut has. And you're like, you know what? I can still keep going. I can still keep going. I can still push it for the next 2 weeks. But then 2 days after that, what ends up happening is you just end up, you know, giving up. You just end up, you're just like to yourself, okay, nah, bun this. I can't lie. This is not for me. Let's just go back to how we were. Let's just eat back the food that we've lost. Let's just crash diet. Let's just yo-yo diet. Let's just regain the weight that we came back. And then what ends up happening after? You end up going back to looking like this guy right here. Your issue isn't just, to be fair, your issue isn't just the tactics, which obviously that's one part of your issue, but another issue as well is your mindset, and you don't establish who you want to become. Because when to go from a transformation from this guy to this guy to this guy, we need to first establish who you are. We'll go into the tactics within this video, but before you do any tactics, you need to first identify who you want to become and not what you want to do to become this person. Who do you want to become? Find your deep reason as to why you want to get to 10%. Why do you want to get to 10%? Because that mindset and the reason of you getting to 10% body fat will stay held within your mind whenever like some sort of hardship comes within your cut. Because I wouldn't have gotten to this level condition right here if I didn't first identify who I wanted to become. I wanted to become the role model for the family. I wanted to become, like, who do you want to become? Like, my deep reason to get to this level condition is what has helped me get into this condition, not just the tactics. And don't get me wrong, this took me a while to get to a transformation like this, because I remember back in the past, I used to do a lot of like aggressive cuts. I used to find quick fixes, the quick ways to get into shape, get into shape as fast as possible. And one way I did that was doing an aggressive cut, and it was just very unsustainable for me. I just end up crash dieting and then rebounding, going back to how I first started, going back to that previous frame that I was at, that square one. And that's the reason why I'm telling you guys in this video. I'm using my past mistakes. Take this from somebody who used to do aggressive cuts back in the days, and he would just rely too much on the tactics, and it wouldn't first fix their mindset, or first establish who you want to become before um identifying the tactics required to get into shape. I spent my entire like 2 to 3 years identifying what's the scientific formula to lose fat here. You know, keep chasing. I just kept on, chasing the quick fixes and just chasing the how to lose fat as fast as possible, these myths that you get online until I established, until I stopped chasing the six pack and I focused more on who do I need to become first and the man that I need to become and fixing and so like who do you want to become, and then because once you identify who you want to become, your identity will start to slowly change and you'll start to view yourself as this person right here. So first establish who you want to become before you then look at the tactics, the correct tactics to that you must apply to get to this level of conditioning right here. So I'm not gonna go more into detail now on the mindset fixes and stuff because obviously I did that in other videos. So yeah, you can just go check them out. But yeah, in terms of the tactics, the way to fix this tactically if is to first do like a 2 week prime phase where you just eat roughly at maintenance, get your maintenance calories, eat roughly at that maintenance with the nutrients, with healthy, clean, whole foods. The reason why I would recommend doing a prime phase first, like a little 2 week prime phase, is because we want to get your body, we want to prime our body ready for the fat loss phase. And we want to do that by just letting your body first get used to absorbing all of the nutrients that it needs before like setting up other challenges for your body. The thing is, yeah, like I don't want to like shock your body very quickly by doing a fat loss phase straight away. It's better to like, take it slowly, slowly, shock it like very slowly. And one way to do that is to just eat at maintenance, give your body enough food to absorb all of the nutrients that it needs for 2 weeks. But if you're someone that's, you know, on very low calories right now and that's literally about to, just quit their like aggressive cut, then what I would do from there, if you let's say if you're someone that ended up eating 1400 calories, if you're still eating at 1400 but you want to just, you know, end the cut, quit the cut, and just, you know, just do like a cut again but in a smarter approach, then what I would do is I would do the prime phase for a bit longer. So you may need it for 3 to 4 weeks. Do the prime phase, the maintenance phase, about eating at maintenance for like around 4 weeks, and do like low output as well by just doing like 20 minutes of cardio, not daily, but do it, just do 10K steps, obviously, for that prime phase period. Just do cardio for like 3 to 5 days a week. You don't have to do it for the full 7 days a week, just to get our body used to, doing a good amount of output and getting used to absorbing all of the nutrients that it needs and get your body used to eating this, good high amount of food. So do a prime phase for 2 to 4 weeks, depending on like where you initially started. So if you just like initially started and you didn't do like no aggressive cuts or anything, then yeah, you can just do it for 2 weeks. But if you're someone that's done it, that's going from like that wants to get out of the aggressive cut and they were eating at low calories, then I'd recommend doing the prime phase for a bit longer for 3 to 4 weeks instead of 2 weeks. And then once you do the prime phase, what you want to do from there is drop just below maintenance. So 200 to 300 just below maintenance. Obviously, it depends on like where you at. What's your condition? What's your like current condition? So let's say if you're skinny fat like this person right here, then yeah, drop just below maintenance. Or to be fair, if you're like 30% body fat and you're skinny fat, you can drop a little bit more aggressively. So like I'd say drop 400 to 500 just below maintenance and then increase the deficit further by doing more output. So do by doing 10K steps daily and starting off with low amount of cardio by doing 20 minutes of cardio daily. But if you're like 25% body fat, then just drop like and you're skinny fat, then just drop just below maintenance at like 200 or 300 just below maintenance. And yeah, like I said, raise the daily energy expenditure by doing by doing output, by doing 10K steps and 20 minutes of cardio daily. And this, by setting up the calories this way, this will put your metabolism in a very good place. It won't put your metabolism in the bin at all. Whereas if you just did it, if you slash your calories down too much and you raise it up too high, then it'll put your metabolism in the bin. Trust me, you don't want to do it that way. But if you're someone that doesn't really have that much body fat, like this person right here, like I feel like around 22, 23, then you can drop just below maintenance at like 200 to 300, and you have like a decent amount of muscle, then you can just drop 200 to 300 calories just below maintenance, and then obviously raise the daily energy expenditure by doing 10K steps daily and 20 minutes of cardio daily in any non-impact machine, which can be Stairmaster, incline treadmill, cross bike, anything that's not impacting. And then yeah, do it at a heart rate of 120 to 130 moderate, and don't be doing no hit cardio, so that doesn't really affect our joints and it doesn't really raise our cortisol levels. And also the problem with doing an aggressive cut is it will raise your stress and cortisol levels. Therefore, your body is gonna start to, because your body is very clever. It won't respond to fat loss if your cortisol is just keeps on like going high. Whereas if you just keep your food high and your output fairly like high, that's when your body will respond. Cortisol won't be as high, especially towards the start of the cut, and then obviously your metabolism is gonna remain, stable. It's going to remain like running at a very good rate, a very good way. So that's the correct way to approach. That's the correct approach to setting up the calories. Now, obviously, like when it comes to adapting your calories, you want to first adapt it by raising that output first high, by going from 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and then 30 minutes to 40 minutes. And then obviously to the point where the cardio becomes physically fatiguing, that's when you can start to drop the food down. And then obviously when you drop the food down and then you may end up towards like the last 2 weeks of your cutting phase, like where I was eating at 800 calories for those last 2 weeks. You may at this point, obviously you may get to like 50% body fat and you may experience, soreness, fatigue, very high fatigue, maybe slight high cortisol as well. What you can do from there, yeah, you may need to, run a D output for 2 days by just doing 10K steps and no cardio. Or and you may get to a point towards the end of the cutting phase where you're very, very flat. You're very flat as a pancake, which is normal, by the way, to be flat. You must get flat to get lean. Trust me, you must get flat to get lean. It's very normal. Don't stop the cut just because you're very flat or you're very like skinny. You have that skinny look. Trust me, that's normal. But yeah, if you're very, very flat though, and you're like 12% or below, then yeah, that you may be, you may need to run a refeed, which is what I did. You may need to run a high carb day for like one day to help replenish all of your glycogen and just to help with your gym flow performance, to raise your energy levels throughout the day, and just to help you know with your energy levels during your gym performance. So yeah, to summarize, the correct way to basically um set up the calories and to make fat loss more effective and to lose fat more effectively, you want to keep food as high as possible, and keep food as high as possible whilst also raising the daily energy expenditure by doing more output once your rate of weight loss doesn't hit. And you want to aim to lose it around like 0.7 to 1 kg per week by doing more food, by eating a good amount of food, and by doing a good amount of output. You know, starting it off low and then obviously raising that up higher, was keeping the food high to maintain gym floor performance. So, yeah, that's the correct approach to do to get to 10% body fat. And so, if you want my help to get to 10% body fat, then comment down below within this video with the word or phrase 10%, and then I'll reach back to you. Big announcement, the first two people who do that, they'll be coached by me for free. The first two people who comment down the phrase 10%, I'll send you a one-to-one coach application for you to fill out, but you won't get paid if you're the first two people. And yeah, I will book a one-to-one call, then we'll speak up, and then you'll be coached by me for free if you're the first two people who comment down below within this video the phrase 10%. Other than that though, the fact that you watched this video is good enough for me. Thanks for watching as always. I'll see you lot in the next one.